Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's session where we're looking at how you can manage disruptions with bus services. We are recording this and we'll make the recording available to you afterwards. Please do feel free to use the chat as we go along to put questions in and things like that as we go along, and we'll pick those up at the end, and we'll have some Q&A at the end. So I'm Tim Rivet. I am the one that runs RTIG, and I'm going to sort of compare today. We are lucky to be joined by Philip Locke from Lothian Buses today, who's going to talk about how they manage disruptions, and this follows on from a number of events that we've had over the last couple of years. So about 15 months ago, something like that, we had an event looking at how you could manage and improve operationally vehicles during times of disruption, and making sure that you're informing customers what you know in control rooms and things like that. That was more recently followed up with an event a couple of months ago, which had a bit more of a public focus on it, looking at how as operators and authorities we could make sure that we knew about disruptions and were able to inform passengers what was going on, and how to mitigate some of those issues. And there were a few challenges that came out of that we've been exploring in some of the events that we've been holding and some of the work that we've been doing since. So actually finding out about disruptions, finding out about roadworks in particular, and how operators and authorities can work together to mitigate that impact is an increasing problem. It seems that there are more roadworks going on out there, and they're having more disruption. I'm not sure the potholes are getting filled, but somebody's digging the roads up and causing the disruptions. But yeah, finding out about those and how managing those and informing passengers seems to be probably the hot topic of the day, and we'll be doing some more work on particularly the communicating to passengers over the coming months. We had to the last session invited Philip. Unfortunately, Edinburgh is quite a long way, and things didn't quite work out, and so we're very lucky to be joined by Philip today, who's going to talk to us about how in Lothian Buses they manage disruptions. So welcome, Philip, and I'll hand over to you.
Okay. So I'm Philip Locke, and I'm the strategic systems manager for Lothian Buses. I've been here for 24 years, or 24 years in June, despite my non-grey hairs. Certainly been here a while, and over the last 14 years I've been involved in mainly projects, technology related projects. So the years prior to that were spent in various operational roles, driving buses, supervising, control room, garage management, that sort of thing. So I've kind of seen firsthand what disruption looks like, and also been involved in some of the planning aspects, and certainly been involved in lots of the technology related ones. Okay, so I'll go through, let me see that button there. Excellent. So this is the agenda for today, on the topics I'll take you through. I'll give you a little bit of a history on Lothian, what disruption means to us, how we communicate, how we communicate on bus and off bus, and then there's associated technologies, and then also finish with a wee challenge at the end. So Lothian buses by numbers, we are actually around about 106, 107 years old as an organisation. There's about 2,700 colleagues, drivers, administration staff, engineers, everything like that. And certainly we've got a large number of vehicles. It says 700 there, but it's actually probably nearer 800 in reality. Carry out over 2 million journeys a week, and we've got several operating garages, depots. 8 of those, 1 coach works where we're able to do a lot of the painting, fabrication, and other specialist work as well. 92 routes, and 92 routes, all of which are subject to disruption. There are a number of operating companies that we've got there. So there's Lothian buses, as you'll notice, the marine coloured vehicles there. And then left and right, we've got East Coast buses, Lothian Country, and then we've got a tour bus fleet as well. We've got 2 coach operations, Lothian Motor Coaches and Eve Coaches. Our operating area is quite expansive. So from 1919, it was generally speaking the main Edinburgh area, but over many years we've expanded and expanded and expanded to really take in quite a considerable amount of East Lothian there towards the coast, and then slightly south into Mid Lothian and west now with our Lothian Country service there as well. So we've got quite a significant area to cover, several routes, and as you can imagine, many roadways and networks, and many opportunities for disruption, roadworks, hold-ups, incidents, that sort of thing. So yes, certainly something considerable to manage. In terms of our ownership structure, we are the UK's largest municipal operator, and our majority shareholder is the City of Edinburgh Council, and then we have the neighbouring councils as well, which hold an amount of shares, and then we're Lothian as a group and its operating companies there are part of the Edinburgh Transport Holdings arrangement as well, where we've got the City of Edinburgh Council and Edinburgh Trams as both businesses are working together now, and yeah, that presents a whole different challenge, which I actually won't cover just now. But certainly it's something we'll look forward to in the future. Okay. And then in terms of our revenue, actually an awful lot of our revenue is from on-bus and off-bus sales. So on-bus direct ticket purchase, and then your mobile tickets and rider cards, as we call it, so your travel card, etc. And then of course the National Concession Scheme, some supported services, and yeah, a few bits and bobs in between there. So let's have a look at some disruption. I'm comparing 2025's figures with 2024 here, but as you can see, we had 2.9 million diverted journeys last year, which is a small proportion, or a small proportion of the overall figure there, but it's 12% is considerable. That's 300,000 miles that were diverted miles, not following the scheduled route. Yeah, 6,050 bus stop notices issued, so people going in and letting people know that there's some sort of disruption. Driver notices, so these are things that we'll put in our garages for when drivers sign on. They can check all the notices and see what they're facing for the day and whether or not there's something on the routes that they'll be doing. So yeah, over the last or over all those points there, you can see it's an increasing amount. Events of significant scale in Edinburgh, yeah, 337. I'll go through a bit more of that in detail later, but yeah, 337 significant events. Interventions, what I mean by interventions is the number of time our control room staff have had to step in and do something with a bus that's just simply not able to keep to its timetable, whether that be short running, transferring passengers, part routing something, introducing a new path, anything like that, just to try and regulate and keep our services as close to timetable as possible. And the amount of lost mileage is actually reduced. It's 85,000 miles. But the reason it's reduced is actually due to tactics we're taking with our scheduling and planning. We're starting to build in significantly more recovery time at terminus ends, introducing more buses into the cycle to maintain frequency and generally trying to give ourselves a better chance of keeping our regular service. So yeah, I would say that disruption is certainly a normal part of public transport operation, and therefore it's crucial that we've got something in place to actually be able to handle disruption and certainly to manage it effectively. So in terms of information gathering, we've got various sources. There's of course roadworks registers, websites, lists, things like that. And of course, there's plenty of email alert services you can sign up for, or certainly we can sign up for, that's going to give us a bit of alert about what's expected, what's planned, what's going to happen. We attend event planning working groups, whether that be something small or something large, where possible. If we know it's going to have a significant effect on, or expected to have a significant effect on our services, we'll be there. Event lists, you can certainly get many sources of information for your event list, digital or printed. And of course, there's always the Met Office for those wonderful extreme weather events that seem to be happening more regularly now. And then for coordination, we've actually got dedicated roles within the business for handling all this information, make sure it remains current, checking that these things are going ahead. And just knowing that we're on top of, or no surprises, I suppose, would be the way that we're trying to approach this as much as possible. And then, of course, we've got historic analysis and debrief logs from past events and other similar circumstances where we can see what the impact has been like and what it's likely to do to services that we have running in a specific area. Of course, we've got scheduling review. I touched on that earlier. We've reduced our lost mileage because we've taken a proactive approach and built in a bit more recovery time and things like that. And of course, there's resource planning as well. Certainly, there's a standard for making sure that there's enough vehicles in the cycle to maintain the frequency, enough vehicles in the cycle to recover and regulate the timetable. But also, there's the large events where we're definitely going to need extra buses. We're going to have many more. Hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people that we're going to need to move and get around. So that could be involving extra over and above our normal output. So just to give a little bit of a flavour of, I tried to write a list, and to be honest, the list will never end. But Edinburgh is host to several large events, such as rugby internationals and concerts at Murrayfield. We've got the Edinburgh International Festival, the Fringe Festival, the Book Festival, the Comedy Festival, the Science Festival, the Royal Military Tattoo, the Winter Festival, Edinburgh Marathon, which is this weekend, Edinburgh's Hogmanay. We've got 2 top league football teams, and we've got the Scottish Parliament. With that can come some demonstration and marches from time to time. So there's plenty there, and to be honest, I've probably missed quite a lot. Yeah. Okay. So, in terms of how we tend to handle planned events, I would say it involves preparation in the main with our scheduling and resource planning, and then roadworks and event coordination, as I talked about earlier, dedicated staff telling us what's expected, and the roadworks and event coordination stuff. Generally, it's taken into consideration by our planning, scheduling planning side when it's a medium to long term situation where we're going to have to really just schedule our services in a completely different way. In terms of communication, certainly there's lots of digital information sources that we've got there. It's generally much easier to manage as well. You can change things rather quickly. And then we've got bus stop information where we're making sure that each bus stop that's going to be affected by any form of planned disruption has information in it. And not only just information about what the disruption will be, but where they can find out a little bit more as well. And then there's an execution element to that. So we've done our preparation, we've let people know what we expect to happen, and then we execute that, be that with the extra resource, a schedule change, or communicating further disruption, or if the situation is gonna modify itself. So on to communication. So internally, we have a system called LB Roads, something that we've made. It's a digital system. Each garage has a sort of podium touchscreen PC in front of the sign-on desk, where a driver can go in and they can find out the active situations on the route across the city. And if you can see, we've got ongoing filter toggled there. There's planned. If I press the plan button, it would just be a big mess of additional things that are about to happen. And there's some other safety related information there, as low bridges, hazards, that sort of thing. But in there, that lets you sort of filter it down to your route that you're doing on the day, and it'll let the driver know exactly what it is that's expected to be in place on their route. Similarly, we allow, we've got a feature in there so drivers can actually feed back to us if they've got some comments on what the roadwork situation is actually like against, or versus what was planned. If there are perhaps flow restrictions of the way certain things are configured and things like that, we can take that information, and because we already have the contacts between either the local authority, roadworks planners, or the actual contractor themselves, we can feed that information back to them and let them know that it's causing problems on a modification we recommended. Also, we've got printed resources on the right-hand side. These traffic circulars have been in place for as long as I've been here. I've got memories of what they looked like here long ago, and now they look better than ever, and they're much clearer. They didn't always used to have maps. It used to just be a sentence that would tell you what to do. Now we're telling everybody exactly what it is, and it gives you a good diagram what's expected as well. So they tend to mirror what's on the digital resource as well, because some people just don't like digital systems, and that's fair enough. There we go. So this is the kind of information I would say that's it's pre-journey, as I've written there. So it's something that's expected to happen, that's planned. It's what we know about in the current moment. Externally, for passengers, there's a variety of sources. We've got Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram channels there. But in the main, or sorry, it's not Twitter, it's X. But in the main, we've got X as the main source of any alerts and information that people need to know about. We've got a service or status update platform, and it uses the Twitter API. So as soon as somebody puts in information about a situation that's going on, then that information is not only sent out to Twitter, X, sorry, it's also published on our website. The website in the middle there, that gives you a bit more colourful information and description about what's going on as far as service alerts are considered. Also, we've got, we refer to them as stickies, which is the right-hand image there. That's an example of a notice that we would put in a bus stop, just to let people know that there's something different happening. And on there is a QR code for specific to that event, specific to those diversions. So somebody can scan that. It'll take them to the website resource, where it'll give you all the information about exactly what's going on. Similarly, there's another QR code on there that'll take you to the service updates, just in general, to give people an impression of what's going on across the city. Okay, so now we move on to the bus and tram app, and certainly we regard this as the best source of information, because it not only entails the planned roadworks, diversions, events, etc., but we can also handle ad hoc on the day changes in events and disruption. So the app itself, available on Android and iPhone, it's feature rich, so it's got journey planners, real-time departures, close stops, diversions, and general timetable table information in there as well. Just sort of moving left to right through those images there, you can see that I've tapped on Stop PT Princes Street stop PT, and it's telling us the services that are due there. It's telling you the services that stop, the sort of very top of the section, and then there's 8 active alerts that are relevant to that stop, and then in smaller text there, it's affecting a number of services. If we tapped on an individual journey, that's image 2 there, we can see the X for bus, and we can see where it is, what the bus number of it is, the fleet number of it is, the stop it's currently at, etc. So you can get an impression of really how far away it is on a geographic basis. Again, moving left to right, see the Quality Street stop there. There's currently roadworks in place that mean that the service is diverted. It's simply not serving that stop. And all the departures there saying service diverted. They're not giving you a destination. And also all the times, it might be difficult to see on that scale, but all the times are got a strike through them, so you can see that that's not going to happen. Also, it looks odd if we've got a countdown time value in minutes, and then you've got a clock face time. It looks quite distinct as well, so that's a nice indicator that something isn't quite right. Moving on to the Vivian Terrace stop, you've got the diverted services there, the 21. You can see that it's got a temporary stop, and it's headed for Clovenstone as one terminus, and Gyle Centre is another that is expected to arrive there. Similarly, the 47 is not going to arrive. So if we move back to the first picture there, and I said there was 8 active alerts on that banner telling us that it's affecting that stop. So pushing that banner will take you to image number 5 there, where it's telling you that Southbridge bus stop closure, West Approach Road, sorry, at the Exchange, there's overnight works, Ormiston Road, there's works, and the services that it affects as well. So you've got getting that information. That information is also the same information that's available on our website, and again, it flows from a single entry point that just feeds out to X, to the website, and onto the app as well. And then clicking one of those bits about the service information will take you even further in. I'll tell you a bit more information, and it takes you through to maps as well. So you've got a mixture of real-time and planned disruption. And yeah, as I said, that's probably the best source of information we've got for in the moment, exactly as it is, what's happening, what's disrupted, what buses are coming, and where you can go with that as well. In addition, we've got system set up with the local authority RTPI signs. So these signs are City of Edinburgh Council project, and they replaced an older system. It was just simply a good old LCD sort of green screen with the blank digit writing on it. And as such, they're a lot more capable, and there's a lot of scope for putting even richer information than we previously had on there. So there's a sort of an example picture of what it looks like on street in the background there. There's 373 of those within the immediate Edinburgh area, and it's around about 10% of the bus stops, but it's certainly some of the most important bus stops. As I say, they're all city centre based, so a lot of people will rely upon those for real-time information. And as you can see in the graphic that I've put on there, there's lots of different disruption types. Got them part route diverted, route changed, and on diversion. And we worked with the council, City of Edinburgh Council, and Journeo, who make those signs, to try and introduce something that we previously had on the old system, but let's take it a little bit further and try and give people a little bit more information about what the disruption actually means. So part route there means that the bus isn't going to achieve its whole route. It's going to stop short of its terminus point. Diverted, and you might note that there's no countdown time available there. That means that nope, that bus is simply not coming to that stop. It will not be served. Route diverted means that from your point where you're trying to board the bus, further on, there is a diversion in effect. And then route changed is like a combination of route diverted and part route. So the bus isn't going to make it to the final stop, and there's a diversion en route to its very end. And then finally, we've got on diversion there, which means that that bus is on diversion and it's stopping at a stop that it wouldn't normally serve. But we're letting you know it's coming, and here's the countdown to it. We've never had that one before. So yeah, it's quite nice to be able to let people know. Again, this information comes from the same source that our app is fed from. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So all the information is consistent across the two outputs, the on-street signs and the app. And the signs are also very, very good for messaging as well. The signs can provide a scrolling message. I'll flick back there. There's a white banner at the very bottom of the background image there. That can display a scrolling message if you wish, or you've got the option of full screen messages, where it's a paged one where it'll flip between the departures and the message, or you've got this one where it will just completely mask all departures, and it's generally required for emergency events. This picture came from, I think it's Storm, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, I think it's Storm Ewan in January 2025, where it was a red weather alert, and it was quite strange. There was nobody on the streets, and there was just all these red signs around the place, and it looked a little bit dystopian, I have to say. But yeah, it was certainly very, very effective. Okay, moving on to the driver, the poor soul who has to try and take all this in and try and make sure they go the right way. What we have is the Equans and Navignio system. And what that means for the driver's point of view is that they have a console in there, and they've got a map which is going to show them exactly where to go and where to stop. And they've got the option of a map view or a stop line view, like it's just split between there. And then there's a few more menus. I think that video pops through as well that tell you a little bit more about what's involved with your current bus working. On the right-hand side there, that image, you will see that there's a green line at the bottom of the map display, a yellow line going off to the left, and then there's a dotted red line with a black teardrop with an X through it. So what this system allows us to do is to show the driver the normal route, which is the green line, and then a diverted route, which is the yellow line, and also the unserved, the diverted section, which is the dotted red line there as well. So they get real-time information straight from, again, the same source that's feeding the app and feeding the on-street signs as well. So again, all the information is exactly the same. I wish I had that when I started driving buses. Okay. Also, connected to the same system that's the driver's connected to, we've got the audio-visual passenger information system, and that's providing, again, consistent information about timings, expected travel times, diversions, stops, points of interest, interchanges, and we can do text messages as well, that sort of thing. I've used some of the images we've got from our specification document to show you there, but yeah, essentially we're able to tell people exactly where we're going, how long it's going to take them, what the next couple of stops are, and then in the middle image there, you can see that there's a sort of a U-bend round a couple of a line bar there. That's similar to the driver interface. It's telling us that you are not serving, sorry, this bus will not serve those stops. We're diverted around there. If there were diverted stops, they're highlighted in yellow, as we can see with bus stop point 004. And that'll give passengers exactly the same information from exactly the same source again. It just all flows from the same point. So everybody is seeing the same information. And then probably a bit more difficult to see. I don't know if I can zoom this in. I will try. We can see that on this map view, that this section of the route is not going to be served and we're going to be diverted, and the yellow dots denote to stops on diversion. There are a few different scenes, as we call it, with this passenger information system. It will zoom in a little bit more to give you it's obviously quite difficult to see the entire route. That's actually the display you see before the bus is set off. But yeah, once the bus is moving along, it'll give you much more contextual information as it proceeds through. Similarly, this is hooked up to the PA system, so there's audio and visual information reaching you, and the hearing induction loop is connected as well. And then in certain buses, we have either the LED matrix screen, like the one shown here, we have an LED matrix and a TFT screen, or we have two TFTs and an LED matrix. It just depends on the configuration of the bus, or whether one's been retrofitted or it's been done at factory as well. But yeah, that system is it satisfies the accessible information regulations, and the nice thing from the driver's point of view is that it's all automatic. They're not required to do anything. It all flows from the same system that's governing their own console, so they can just stick to driving and customer service. Okay, some technologies. So that's the question there. Also, maybe do you want to come back to them at the end, Tim? Or
yeah, pick it up at the end.
Yeah, no problem. So in terms of the technologies, certainly as far as the app is concerned, the on-street signs, websites for journey planners, that sort of thing. This is the setup that we have. I'm going to try. Can you see the pointer on that? Sorry, Tim, do you see me wiggling around, or?
Yes,
No,
we can.
You do.
Yeah,
you do. That's fine. So we've got our Navinio real-time information system, and then that has a timetable that comes from our scheduling system. We use Giro Hastis, and that goes into the Navinio system, but it also goes to the Novus system as well, which sits behind the journey on-street sign information. So we're sending trans exchange that way, and then we're sending a schedule file straight to Navinio. Of course, that information makes it to the bus, and then it starts to churn out real-time information in Siri format to the Novus system. So that's a mixture of vehicle monitoring and stop monitoring. And then it also produces GTFS RT as well, which is what's powering our app. We supplement some of the location information with Wi-Fi tracking. It's not necessary. We just have it there just in case one of the two systems has fresher information about where the vehicle position is, and therefore it'll just use the freshest location information. And then that, yes, of course, flows into our web services, which feeds our app and our website as well. And then coming back up to the top again, the Nova system, it also has an API, and we take from that API for the tram locations and the tram locations, so we can show all the transport modes in the same place. And then, yeah, the Novus system then feeds the Journeo MQTT broker, and that's what feeds the signs and shows our departures and the disruption information as well. Yeah, quite a few things going on there, but it works very well, and I'm quite happy with the information. And as I've said a few times during this, the main point is the source of this information that is seen on the driver's console, that's seen on the passenger screens and information and audio resources, the app and the on-street signs and our websites, all comes from this single system, this Navinio real-time information system, CAD-AVL system. So it's nice to have a single source of truth, if you like. Okay, now I would love to take you through the Navinio system to show you a bit more about what it can do and what it's capable of doing. But to be honest, that would be a couple of days. It's quite a fully featured and rich system that's capable of a lot. This image here shows you a triangle for representing every single bus, and I've got it labeled there to show you all the different services as well. you can see the sheer intensity of buses in the main Edinburgh city area, and then certainly a little bit more as we go east and west out there. The system is fantastic, and certainly when you are managing the number of vehicles, we said 700 on the slide, it's a little bit more than that. When you're managing that volume of vehicles, when you're managing the amount of disruption and diversions and sort of incidents that happen throughout the day, 24/7, 365, it's absolutely essential to have a system where you can monitor where all these vehicles are, what they're up to, where they are in relation to timetable, and be able to help the passengers and certainly the driver as well to make sure that we're doing the best we can to offer the best possible service. This is our synoptic view, as it's known. So this is showing us the service 26, and then on the top line we've got buses going from Clerwood as the terminus all the way to Seaton Sands. So that's west to east. And it shows you all the flags represent a vehicle there, and they've got a certain colour coding representing a certain status in relation to their timetable. And then you've got the same on the bottom, but it's going east to west this time, so Seaton Sands to Clerwood. And this is a fairly common view that we would use to manage and regulate a service. As you can see, there's a few groupings going on there, where buses are a little bit closer to each other than we would like. We'd prefer better spacing, but of course, I took this. I'm trying to remember exactly what time I took it, but I took this. I think it was getting close to rush hour, so things were starting to creep in terms of where they were sitting on the route. But as you can see again on that Clerwood box, or Cler 2, it says in that box there's a time value 6:32, and then there's 485. So that's bus 485, and it's got 6 minutes and 32 ticking down before it's away and starting on its route again. And then on this other opposite terminus, Seaton Sands, you can see it's got 10 minutes 23 and 27 seconds before both of those are due to leave as well. But this is a very effective screen for managing disruption. Right-clicking on one of these bus flags will give you a variety of options and actions you can take to either check the timetable, check what their layover is going to be, perform a control action such as a part route or turning short. For example, if you saw a whole bunch of buses grouped together there, and one was bang on time and one was 20, 25, 30 minutes late for some reason, you could take action to correct that late running bus and make sure that all the passengers do get to where they're intended on going by transferring passengers and all that sort of thing. So this is a very regularly used tool. Let's see. So the system itself, I was going to include a photo of the control room, but honestly, I couldn't find one where there wasn't somebody in it all the time, or there wasn't something happening on the CCTV screens. And yeah, it's always in use, as I said. It's 24/7, 365. So I will try and see if we've got one on file somewhere else, or wait until everybody leaves one night or something like that. But in the control room, we've got 8 positions. Got 4 of those are dedicated to individual garages or high frequency services as well. And then we've got 3 positions, one of which is kind of hybrid, flicks between that and control operations. So control operations are really where there's an incident or a mechanical issue, or let's I don't know if you can call it mechanical anymore, that we've got lots more EVs, but that's certainly that sort of thing. Those hitches that are going to prevent the bus from operating. And then there's a desk that's used every now and again, which is for handling large-scale events. So if there's a set of dedicated buses that are just for handling that event, then that desk can be used to manage those individual services. Yeah. Also in our control room, we've got a connection to not only our internal CCTV network, but we've also got the local authority CCTV network as well. So we see what they're looking at. We don't have control of that network necessarily, but they'll be looking out for traffic and network related issues just as much as we are. So we've got eyes on certain situations. If there is something going on that they're not looking at, we can certainly give them a call. And they'll try and turn the camera around to see what we're trying to find. And there's another couple of positions in there as well. They're not staffed all the time, but generally speaking, when there's large-scale disruption events on the horizon, they will be staffed. And those two positions are local authority staff, and they manage the traffic light systems. So they can help us if we see an area of congestion, significant congestion, or there's something that needs a bit of assistance to improve the flow. They'll use their abilities, softwares, and systems to allow us to actually proceed and ease the situation. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. So yeah, in general, I would say that managing disruption is about information gathering. So making sure you've got your sources sorted out, and you're getting everything you possibly can to make sure that you're able to plan and take things into consideration. This is something that's been refined over many years, and as systems have become better at providing information, and processes from local authorities, roadworks, and the contractors themselves have become better at making sure the information is available, sometimes to the point that they would like to ask us before they commit to something, just to make sure that they're not going to cause us some problems, things like that. But making sure you've got the right information, you've got good connections in that sense, is really the way to go. Just relying on the information as somebody publishing something on a website or something like that is probably not enough anymore. You need to be quite proactive in making sure you've got a variety of sources. Preparation and coordination, yes, I've talked about that. So that's scheduling, planning, and resource allocation, things like that. If you know something big is coming, but you know you can't handle it, then you're going to have a bad time. Is essentially what's going to happen there. So taking the steps you can to try and manage a situation is a necessity. Because either way you're gonna feel it. Certainly we do as a city operator if we weren't to do anything. And then there's the proactive and reactive action. We've already talked about scheduling, talked about making sure the communication is out there to let people know what's going on. But of course, there's those situations, many situations that happen, and certainly you could not have planned for it. So making sure that, again, that you've got the ability to communicate about something ad hoc, something unexpected that's happened, having the ability to modify a journey so that the driver knows that journey is now modified, and they know that they're going on a diversion. The passengers now know that they're going on a diversion, and we're able to broadcast that information for any intending travellers as well. Is extremely important. I'll put communication at the bottom there. That is the key. Just making sure that everybody that's involved with the public transport operation, the driver, the passenger, the people who are managing and controlling that aspect in the control room, everybody needs to know exactly what the situation is going on. That way we can ensure we're at least in some way helping this situation. Okay, so I'm going to finish now. Oh no, not. I'll tell them why. Sorry. Got the next few things that I'm looking at just now for this particular area of technology is general continual refinement. We're just trying to think things smarter, zippier, and a bit more straightforward where we can. But there are some subtle and complex disruption circumstances that we're trying to handle in the same way that we are standard ones just now. And that's a little bit of making adjustments on the softwares that we're using, but it's also potentially changing the way that we approach certain scheduling aspects and things like that as well. So it's something that takes a little bit longer time to actually work through and decide what the right way to go is. Traffic signal priority is something that we're working on just now with the local authority and also the surrounding council areas as well. We're trying to move towards a solution that's going to benefit all of those areas, because of course we travel through them all, and some services travel cross authority lines and things like that. So there's some interesting work going on there. And of course, we've got Scottish Bus Open Data that's coming as well, the Scottish equivalent of BODs. And that's going to make use of some of the technologies that I've talked about earlier. And there's some certainly some challenges associated with that, and making sure that that we don't lose, or I would hope, as best as possible, we're trying to maintain the single source of truth philosophy that we've got in operation just now across multiple information outputs. Okay, now I'm going to move on to a challenge. There we go. And I don't know if anybody's still listening or not. Feel free to chip in if you want. This is the challenge here. So we have a bus that's or a bus service, I should say. Everything's running perfectly. It's a utopian setting, and there are no problems at all, and everything's as good as equally spaced, and things are going well. This is how we would love it to be, but it's simply not the case. We've got some a planned event, could be a concert if you like, and we've got some planned roadworks. We both know about these, and as a result, we'll probably introduce some additional buses into the cycle to make sure we can accommodate the additional crowds that we're going to the planned event. And the planned roadworks, the delay that they're going to cause isn't deemed significant enough for us to worry about rescheduling them. So that's the situation we're in. What do you think is going to happen around the planned event area and the planned roadworks area as we progress through the day? Correct. I don't know if anybody's guessing.
A whole lot of chaos and a whole lot of confusion.
Indeed. That's right. There we go. Things are starting to group together. Thank you for chipping in. Things are starting to group together, and we're starting to see an awful lot of disruption. So we're feeding the planned event, and there's slight delays in the roadworks section. And yeah, it's starting to impact the reliability of the service. We can see things are starting to group together, and there's now sort of gaps in the service. So we've taken the proactive steps to feed the event, but that's just not been enough. So disruption, what are we going to do about that? What could we do to actually manage the situation and try and improve it? What do we reckon? Turn some buses, transfer some passengers. Say again?
I was going to say curtail some buses as well as extending bus priority traffic signals.
Ah, yes, that's a good idea. Yeah, try and make things move a bit smoother. I like your thinking. That was going to work until, oh no, we've got a burst water main. Now that section of the route's impassable. And we've got an obligation as a bus operator. We've got to provide the service. And we've got passengers on those vehicles. We've got a planned event going on. We've got roadworks. There's people in work. There's people coming out of their work. There's people coming out of school. There's people trying to move around the city and do their thing. What are we going to do?
Yeah, well, it's got to be a diversion, isn't it? It's burst water main.
Good thinking. That's good. That's good.
But I mean, how do you communicate? You communicate to passengers that are already on board.
That's your challenge.
Yeah.
We've popped the diversion in place, and we're now managing the service, and things are moving again, and we can try and keep the service going. But we do have a little problem there that I've left, where I don't know if you noticed that there's a bus right beside that arrow. He isn't moved. He's stuck. So we're now have a bus that's no longer running and in the cycle again. So what do we do about that one? That's a bus that's effectively useless to the service now.
Get a bottle out there quick. He's going to need the loo.
Anyway, that's an example situation, but to be honest, it's not really that different from what is actually going to occur in most cities, most large cities, with a bit of regularity. As you quite rightly say, how do we communicate this to the passengers on the vehicle, the driver, people who are intending on travelling, the people standing at the bus stops in that closed section, the people who have now come out of their concert and they're waiting on the bus coming? And what I've omitted from those diagrams. So I haven't actually put any bus stops in there, and I haven't put any people in there either. And I certainly haven't put the return leg of that journey either. They've got to go back again. Is that first water main going to affect them going back again? Are those roadworks going to affect them going back again? Is that planned event going to affect them going back again? It could be a yes to all three. So that is the challenge of managing that information. We, through a few years heavy and hard work, have got solutions to handle all of these problems. I've taken you through some of those just now, but then there's other tools that we have available to us as a bus operator as well. We are able to deploy people to the location, to talk to people in person, let them know what's going on. We're able to deploy a van to say that stranded bus there, and to help them out of the situation, be that some tight manoeuvring or whatever it is that's required. We can, people can phone us and inquire about what's going on. We have an inquiries line. People come right in. We've got manned social media channels. We can let them know what the situation is if they don't quite understand what it is that we've published, or if it's a developing situation as well. It's not necessarily that the ad hoc situation is a cut and shut, it's a road closed. It might be something that's a developing situation where it's going to get potentially worse, or the number of affected areas are actually going to change and expand on other routes, for example. So there's a lot of things that need to be communicated and managed. There's a lot of additional resource that needs to be considered when you're actually trying to handle what can be extremely complex situations with a very large network across a very large area. I've realised, Tim, I'm sorry, I'm chewing up the time, haven't I? That's the end of it. That's the end of it. That's the end of it.
Thank you, Philip. That was a very interesting challenge at the end, and we can all understand how that happens on a day-to-day basis, but it is how you manage that effectively, and you've given us very good insight into the tools that you've got and how you use them. So there's a few questions in the chat. This was early-ish on. I think you probably answered it from Andrew. You mentioned many sources of information and an advanced system to update and send out selected communications. Do you have a dedicated team that coordinates the disruption information?
Yes. Well, not dedicated. They actually work in the control room. They're part of the team who are dealing with the situation at the time.
Yeah. There's a couple of technical ones in there. Does your AVL ingest more than one GPS feed from the vehicle?
The onboard equipment has its own GPS feed, as well as a few other additional techniques to achieve dead reckoning levels of detail.
Mm-hmm. One from Amy from Travelline. Is there any of the disruption data available as open data to consumers? Do you, if a third party wanted it?
Not yet. Yeah. You can email me separately about that if you like.
Okay. How difficult, this is from Claire, how difficult is it operationally to distinguish between unexpected disruption and predictable demand displacement that's caused by live events and roadworks?
It's essentially that there isn't really a whole lot of difference depending on your point of view. If you work in the control room, it's just another form of disruption. In terms of the passenger, they may have access to advanced warning, let's call it, before something occurs. But generally speaking, lots of people will just look at the phone or look at the sign and see what it's going to tell them on the day. That's how a lot of people operate. That's why we've spent a lot of effort on making sure that there's as much information available to them on the mobile device as possible. I talked about earlier how many bus stops have these tracker signs at them. So it's something like, what is it, did I say? 373, and there's around about 4,000 bus stops in total. So we're trying to cater for the other larger percentage of people who won't have those digital resources at their stop.
Yeah, very interesting one from Tusha. So when a service is on diversion, you've explained how you can use the displays in your app to provide alternative information where, and the fact that it's not actually stopping at a particular stop, but how could you advise them on the distance to the alternative stop, or what should they do instead? I think this is something that lots of people struggle with. How do you, yes, that stop's not being served, or it's, being diverted or cancelled. What should that individual do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for planned diversions, yes, we can do that. We can create temporary stops in a sense. So they're able to position something new on the map. But when it comes to ad hoc ones, if it involves a temporary stop, now the situation that would somehow formulate where a closure happened and we were somehow able to get a temporary bus stop, in the van and out to that location in a quick time is less likely to happen. But yeah, we can do it with planned works as much as possible. However, for city centre related information, we're hoping to evolve with the City of Edinburgh Council to utilise their signs to show if a bus stop is closed, where they can go and find their service as an image on the display. So it would, rather than it saying simply bus stop closed, it would show exactly where they can go on the sign on the digital resource. Also, the information is posted in the bus stop where they could go to get the service as well. So it's available in there. But as I say, lots of people prefer the digital device. So moving towards a bit more digital feeling in terms of that kind of situation.
Yeah, an interesting one which not a lot of people talk about is actually how do drivers communicate back to the control room?
Got a radio system. Yeah, we've got a radio system that's we've got our own sort of private managed. It's not sort of, it is a private managed radio system, and all the buses have got the radio unit inside of them. So that's how we deal with voice communication if we need it. They've also got an emergency button in the cab. If they press that comes through as it's graded slightly differently as received in the control room, so they know it's an emergency situation to deal with. We've also got on the Navignio console 2 different coloured call buttons as well. One's for mechanical related things, so it would go to the right people in the control room, and then one's for timetable related as well, so it would go to those 4 other individuals I talked about earlier. So they're graded slightly differently.
Yeah. Okay. And last couple. Do you use AI to brainstorm on the complex situations? Are you using AI at all for anything at the moment?
No, no. We're certainly looking at the potential of using something like that. Certainly, AI has been discussed as being a great source of optimization potential, for particularly around scheduling and things like that. But we've had a system in place, for years, which takes our real-time information, so what has actually happened with the schedule, and feeds that back into our scheduling system. And then the scheduling system goes, I see, in order to facilitate the new operating environment, let's say, through using actual work through time values, here's what you should run. And then we look at that and see if that's feasible as well. Yeah. I see one from Richard Holland. As an operator, are you concerned over the over-reliance of single technology provider, or does single source of truth outweigh such concerns? So you're right. If somebody pulled the plug on that one system, then nobody gets anything. But like to hope our Lothian IT department have got that sorted and make sure that doesn't happen. But also we've got a little bit of redundancy built in as well. So because if I jump back to that slide, because we have a couple of different flavors of real-time information going out there, if any of these line of components on the top line there or our line were to go down, there's always going to be an alternative available in that sense as well. So yes, you're right. Single source of truth is that the risk is if one's gone, it's gone. But to be honest, it's not happened. Touch wood. So yeah, quite confident that's the right way to go about it.
Yeah. Okay. We are over time, and people are dropping off for other calls. So
Of course.
please do feel free to drop off. Thank you very much, Philip, for a great presentation. It's been very useful and interesting, and the number of questions has been great. So thank you. Thank you, Philip, for your time. Thank you, everybody, for your time in joining, and have a good rest of the day, and see you on a call soon, hopefully. Thank you,
Super.
everybody.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for watching this RTIG webinar. To find out more about RTIG and our work, then please visit our website at rtig.org.uk. Thank you.